Does anybody have any questions that they would like to share?
One question that I have is that, do you think the text is related to the title, Shooting for the Stars?
I would think yes and no, because shooting for the stars, when you generally think of it, is about how people have gone higher and higher in their goals to see what's in outer space. And they have gone higher because it's now in order. First, they were in ancient times where they realized about constellations, and then Galileo, in the early 1600s, he used his telescope to study the universe. And now, in the latest technology, we've been able to go into space and see what's going on. Maybe we'll be able to go visit other planets in the near future.
What do you think made people realize that Galileo was right when he said that the sun is in the center of our solar system? It's on page 15.
Maybe it's because the way the moon is around the sun, it reflects different parts of the moon.
Okay. What do we know about the sun? What is it that we know about the sun in terms of proving Galileo's theory at that time, which is the sun is the center of the solar system?
We know that the sun is the center because all of the planets and planets and moons and asteroids, they all orbit the sun because of the great gravity that the sun has, greater than everything. Anyone like to share the summary that they made from the text?
Now just remember that as you're summarizing, depending on the conversation that we had, you might make some changes to the initial summary that you had, because you may have thought that you had a certain main idea or some of the important details, but as we discussed, you realized, oh, this is a little different than what I thought before, because something else has come up. So you can make those changes to your summaries as we go along. And I noticed that some of you are making notes as we went along.
I've also changed my summary throughout the conversation we've had because I thought some of my ideas were too specific.
What were some examples of some of your ideas that were too specific?
That I started to talk about patterns in the sky.
Mine was similar to Vetha's and Josh's. I thought chapter 2 was about the discoveries in the past few centuries, like the Greeks used imaginary stories, and Galileo invented the telescope to observe the stars and the sun.
I've also changed mine a little bit like Josh's. People have advanced to traveling in space and what stars are. Stars are constellations made by ancient Greeks. People have made discoveries with rockets and telescopes about the stars. The stars that we have discovered are only a tiny part of our universe.
My summary is similar to everyone that shared. Constellations are stories that Greek gods made up. The rocket is heavy with fuel, therefore they have multi-stages. The text informs us about how as time goes by, we see stars differently.
Now, what are some things that you think we can focus in on and maybe make as our next steps for the next time we meet?
Make our summaries less specific and more brief.
Okay, what are some examples of maybe some specific details we heard from some of the summaries that were shared today?
When I was doing my summary, I said that I could have just said Galileo studied space instead of the stars and the sun and the planets.
Instead of specifically saying what he studied, you can just say that he studied space. Anything else that you noticed maybe was specific, maybe you can pull out of your own that you thought, this is a specific detail?
Perhaps the names of the constellations, like the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Also, when I was talking about rockets, I noticed some people were including about multi-stage. I don't really think that's too important.
The main idea, and it's come up in the whole conversation of this text, is to talk about what's happened over time, from the Greeks, the early Greeks to now, and how science, technology, and the way we explore space has changed. That's the main idea. What I'd like you to work on and focus on is summaries for our next session. Really try to pull out the main idea and just the supporting facts for those main ideas. Let's try to get rid of some of the extra. Let's make it as brief as possible. So remember that question as you're writing your summaries. Is it as brief as possible? I'd like to ask you another question. How do you feel about this process of reciprocal teaching, of reading a text and meeting together as a group? Oh boy, we have a lot of opinions here.
If you're shy sometimes, like it'll help you talk more with your ideas.
It helps you learn new things that you didn't know before.
I really like this process because I was able to understand more words and I could understand what my next steps were and my clarifications, which I really couldn't understand even though I looked in the book and in the glossary and in the dictionary. I understand them a little bit more now that I could share with somebody.
It's really helpful because we all don't have the same prior knowledge, so if I didn't know something like about space, maybe Nina or Josh knows it.
It helps us change our opinion about the book, like how I changed my summary using this conversation.
And what I noticed and what I enjoyed about this and why I enjoy meeting with the groups and discussing it is that I get an opportunity to see the different strategies that you're using. For example, when someone had a question about multi-stage, someone was using word study to try to solve their problems. And Nathan, you used your prior knowledge based on a book that you read at home to solve the questions that we had. So I'm learning a lot from you and the way you solve problems and the way you try to break down the text and comprehend the text. So I really enjoy this conversation and I learn a lot from you just by listening. So what you're going to do is for tomorrow, you're going to get a graphic organizer and you're going to do your before reading predictions on chapter 3. So don't read chapter 3. You're going to do your before reading predictions and then you're going to read chapter 3 and then complete the rest of the process. After reading predictions, you're going to reject or confirm your predictions and why. You're going to write down anything that needs clarified, ask any questions that you have, and then summarize the text.